Hold on.
As we're gradually moving back to opening schools and businesses and, of course, our in-person interactions, I want to remind you, this is all time with cold and flu season getting going. Staying hydrated is key to helping your body deal with the added stress and with the upcoming flu season. My regular fans have heard me talk about a product called Hydrolyte for a long time now. It's an amazing rapid rehydration drink. It's a mix that, well, we're obsessed with here. I'm excited to announce they've just released Hydrolyte Plus Immunity, just in time for cold and flu season. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of immune-boosting ingredients. Each single-serve, easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 300 milligrams of elderberry extract, creates what is hopefully immune-boosting formula that's high in antioxidants and zinc. Combining this with Hydrolyte's 7 key electrolytes, it's a fantastic way to stay proactive and properly hydrated. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-to-pour powder sticks that rapidly dissolve in water and make a great tasting drink that has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all natural flavors, and it is gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and it is vegan. And you can find Hydrolyte Plus by visiting hydrolyte.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that's HYDRALYTE.com/DRDRW. And be sure to use our code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout for a special discount.
Hey, everyone. It's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We are going to
appreciate our sponsors.
Yes. Thank you for our sponsors. Thank you to our friends that make the UVC light, the eye wand. I've got my Dr. Fauci bobblehead here, and our friends at Seed, of course, which I use on a regular basis, and Susan thinks is some sort of miracle for me.
Hydrolyte, Blue, Halodyne.
Halodyne for the travel, which I've been forcing on my friends when they travel so that they can enhance the effect of the mask. Thank you guys. I'm watching the restream here as well, but I want to get right to some data. Our friend Joe Giannotti has been, and also be taking calls in a few minutes, has been very hard at work. Now I've lost Joe here. Joe, are you still? Oh, there you are. There you are. He's working very hard on the data on COVID right now, and mask wearing and lockdowns and what's going on. There's a lot of interesting stuff to kind of look at here. Joe, you there? Oh, hang on.
Hey, Drew. How you doing?
Hey, man. Thank you for all that data. So Susan is throwing up data on restricted versus non-restrictive states. Susan, I wonder if you could throw up the Michigan data first.
Yep.
Do you have access to that? I'm sorry to. Here we go. So, Joe, you just sent me this data of what's going on for COVID in Michigan, and people are freaking out about that, and it looks like kind of reasonably so. What do you make of all that?
What I make out of it is what I've been saying for a while now about seasonality. And the Great Plains, the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, they are starting to see an incline in cases. It has not, one thing you'll notice, Susan, if you go all the way to the bottom to death, it has not trickled down to death yet.
No, of course not. I mean, that's going to take a couple of weeks, but the hospitalizations are ticking up. And
hospitalizations are definitely ticking up.
Yeah, and hopefully it will not. I mean, we're doing such a good job now with the treatment. I'm hoping it won't have too much of an impact on the death rate, but who knows? So your hypothesis is that because it's the Northern Plains and the seasonality has some impact on. Now, my other question would be: is this? I keep wondering if places like California sort of had 3 surges and one was sort of real. That's the death rate, I think, there, right, Susan? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it possible Michigan has not really had a surge yet? Or I mean, I understand it's
no, they've had a surge.
They've had surges. Okay.
They've had.
And how do we know how they're doing with the vaccines?
There's a website that I'm going to have to post that I'll post on Locals that talks about the percentages. They are in the moderate range of I think it was 23% of adults have received the first vaccine.
So that's
and
it's hard.
12 to 13 have received the second dose.
Do we know have the variants come into Michigan? Do we know that's part of what's going on here?
I don't know the answer to that. However, Andrew posted retweeted to both of us on Twitter earlier an interesting factoid about portions of the Midwest and coronaviruses in general. I believe this was from Phil Kerpen, and it's a really interesting factoid. And again, I'll post this on Locals because what this showed was different coronaviruses being picked up this time of the year, which makes me think there's seasonality involved.
That's interesting. And then now let's go to the lock. And is Michigan locked down? Do they have mask mandates, all that kind of stuff?
They have mask mandates. They are one of the harsher states. This is the governor is currently under investigation with the nursing homes. This is Gretchen Whitmer.
Right. So here we have lockdown, mask mandate, and still the virus does what the virus does. So now let's go to lockdown, Susan. If you have the lockdown data that Joe, there it is. So here is, describe this to us, Joe. We're looking at the 7-day averages of COVID amongst restricted versus less restricted states.
So what you can see, especially if you look at the last 30 days, you notice that there really is not much difference between states that were restricted, meaning they were more restricted, like New York, California, those states, compared to states like Texas and Florida that either had no restrictions or only had minimal restrictions on business.
Now, to push back on the data a little bit, the one thing we don't know, and this is something that a guy named Larry Brilliant said to me, he's a virologist, which is that people during a surge tend to naturally engage in social distancing and isolation and things. So we don't know whether, all we can say from this data is that a state mandated lockdown seems to not make a difference, right?
Exactly. And interesting you mentioned the interview you had a month ago with Larry Brilliant. I actually hope that you have him on again very, very soon, because I decided to rewatch on Friday night that entire webcast that you had with Larry, Dr. Brilliant, and it was incredible.
Yeah, he was great.
And not only that, but his hypothesis that he was discussing with you is exactly what I'm seeing in the data. Which is,
how would you characterize that, his hypothesis?
Well, the virus is going to do what the virus is going to do,
right?
Like what you've been saying.
That's right. I think we want to believe we have control over it, and again, we may be seeing people naturally withdrawing and sort of minimizing social contact, but it's pretty clear from that data that the actual mandates don't seem to do anything. Go back to the top of that, Susan. Is that the first? Yeah. I mean, you can see we're looking at hospitalization and death rate and everything. It just doesn't make a big difference. It just doesn't.
No.
Which is crazy in states where, like California, where they're going, we got to do something. We got to do something. It's like, maybe you're only going to hurt things.
Drew, I have had this data double checked and triple checked. So if anyone is asking, this is one random person, just taking comparison to this data, I've had this data, double checked by other people, by other independent people, and they confirm what I.
Shall we show
one
them?
One problem that I have.
Go ahead.
California is guilty of this. And Ohio is the worst. Is you have instances of what they call data dumps.
Yeah.
That you will randomly. Yeah. Places have done audits, which I agree with. I totally agree with states auditing their data because they might be missing something somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
However, the problem is what the CDC has been doing, and I've been criticizing the CDC on this, and I will continue, is that they include it in their data. Right. So you don't include adding death to your 7-day averages.
So
based on an audit.
And now we're looking at mask mandates versus no mask mandates, and it looks just the same as the lockdown data, essentially.
I did it in two different aspects. I did it in the aspect of regional, which compares states like Florida and New York versus Texas and Florida. And then I went further, and I did it with states that had no mask mandates going back from September 1st. That the states did not authorize mask mandates compared to states that still have mask mandates today.
And again, the same interpretation needs to be superimposed on this data. Is all we can say is the mandate doesn't do anything. We're not saying masks don't do anything, right? Because for all we know, the mask wearing is the same in the mandated state as the not wearing state. So we can't conclude that masks do nothing. Understand that. All we can say is that these state mandated, which is how these states are getting into trouble with constitutional excesses and things, seem to not affect the pandemic at all.
I want you to keep up the depth with the border states, because I need to explain a couple of things on this data.
All right, hold on. Let me see if Susan, do you have the border state data?
The one that's currently up.
The one you see, it's right there. Okay. Leave it.
Okay.
That's a death. That's a death. That's about death.
That's
So
the death.
Okay.
For starters, you see the dip in mid-February with the blue, which is the mask mandate.
Yes.
That's baloney, because what happened was states were not reporting their data because of the President's Day holiday.
Right.
The other thing you're going to notice on this is if you can go up to cases. I want to show you this, and this is fascinating. I was shocked to see this.
Keep going.
Cases amongst border states.
Is that this? Here's cases.
I have a slight delay, so
there we go. Here comes the cases.
There's the cases.
Yeah. Susan, scroll down a little further. There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you notice something very interesting with that? Do you notice that the surge with mask mandate states occurred before the holidays?
Yeah. You could blame well before the holidays.
No, you can blame what I've been saying all along, seasonality. That has seasonality, and I'm going to research that much closer. That has seasonality written all over it. As a matter of fact, you'll notice the Thanksgiving, the little dip on the blue and the orange, and then I brought this up with Adam Carolla today.
Yeah.
If you notice, the biggest spike occurred just after Christmas with the no mask mandate states. Now, 9 of the 10 that were no mask mandates were red states, we'll say. Okay, and or states that heavily support the Republican side. And the reason why I have to bring that up is because there was a tendency during that period of both Thanksgiving and Christmas of people gathering in those states more so than in other states.
Oh, that's an interesting theory. Okay, got it. In other words, they're less likely to listen to the restrictions, you think?
That is correct.
Okay, very interesting. Well, Joe, I listen, I want to thank you. I know it took a lot of work, but it's fascinating data. And,
but Drew, look over. Can you see where I'm?
Yeah, I saw your
It's
pointer.
much higher for the mandated mask areas here in beginning of December.
Yeah.
And Susan, that's before the holiday surge.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. It's all again. It's if you think we understand this virus, think again. Or if you think we should be doing fill in the blank for the virus, think again. We don't know. We don't really know. We want to feel like we know. We want to feel like we're doing something.
Right.
We think we know some stuff, but this requires constant vigilance and re-review. It's not at all clear what's going on. Yeah, buddy.
And Drew, actually, before I leave, are there any questions maybe for me? Because
let me see if any. I can't really. Let me look on the Restream. Andrew Ashkazvili is here on the Restream.
Joe.
Yeah. If anybody on the Restream has any questions for Joe, here's the time to write them out. I will bring calls in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead and follow the Restream.
Yeah, but right now I'm on the Restream. We have it up here. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Ask Joe about the weather. We've been talking about the weather. That's what we're talking about. Joe is just so we know, Joe is a meteorologist. So that's why he is, first of all, focused on data. Which camera am I looking at? That one.
Yeah.
Able to analyze data and recognizes seasonality patterns, which is very interesting. Now, Andrew Ashkazvili, hang on. Andrew Ashkazvili said, watch New York closely. They will tell the tale. What does that mean?
He and I have been going back and forth in the last few days about this.
Okay. And
the reason why I have said, as a group, we have both said that we've got to watch New York very, very closely, is because for the last 3 weeks, New York is plateaued.
It's plateaued and it's open. New York is more open than many places, and it's dense, right?
The deaths are still going down.
Right. All right. So
I do have a theory on that.
What is it?
My theory is that because New York has been battered so hard throughout this entire pandemic, especially early, I believe the doctors have a better grasp on treating it.
I think that's true. I think that's a good theory. And, I think people are staying in sort of, you get PTSD in New York. They're sort of staying away from each other. Although, at the same time, restaurants are open and people are going indoors a bit more.
But 90% of the buildings are closed.
Well, no,
nobody's at work. Everybody lives in the suburbs.
Yeah, 90% of the office is not being utilized.
I got to say, when we were in New York, though, we went to a couple of restaurants and nobody seemed to care. Yeah.
No, they were. That's my point, that the restaurants are busy, but people are still sort of on their own. The dog is sitting on my cable. Somebody's asking about your barometric, or rather your meteorological observations. They're saying, is Joe implying that barometric pressure may affect the virus?
No. What I'm saying is there's a research paper that came out of a number of different countries, China, Italy, and New York. It was a group project, and they have noticed the following factors. They've noticed when temperatures are between 41 and 53 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity is between 40 and 70%, and the latitude is 30 to 50 degrees north latitude. That is the prime target. And by the way, conversely, 30 to 50 degrees south latitude on the other side. Because one thing I have also been following is the international numbers. So if you notice internationally, Brazil skyrocketing. Portions of Europe in that ballpark, in that range, starting to go up, or they've been going up for the last few weeks. So I've also noticed that. And again, I'm following Ivor Cummings very, very closely. I hope you could try to get him on, because he will show you so much data that shows the seasonality factor. And he's been screaming about this for months and months on end. That, the virus is going to do what the virus is going to do, what you have been saying all along.
Right. Like, for instance, we don't know why influenza is seasonal. We have theories, we have some ideas, but we really don't know why it comes, why it goes. And the same kind of thing is true with this virus. We have some ideas about it, but we really don't know. Mark Med is saying, I have COVID for 7 weeks now. My symptoms won't go away. For me, at 8 weeks, I went on fluvoxamine. Symptoms would not go away, and it helped me a ton. So talk to your doctor about fluvoxamine, 100 milligrams twice a day. I was shocked at how much benefit I got from that.
There's a question from Lloyd Bonifant about we need to open up with new variants, etc. One thing I've noticed is that the variants don't matter in this equation.
Yeah, I see that, and it's actually reassuring. Either one of two things: either they don't matter, or they're not reflected yet. So I hope they don't matter. The variants concern me, because I do not want this thing again. Thank you.
Now, in 2 weeks, I can't do it next week because I think next week we're not ready yet. But I think 2 weeks from now, I'll be ready to do a comparison of the 10 most vaccinated states versus the 10 least vaccinated states.
Boy, that will be interesting. You're going to have to include data in there of number of naturally occurring infections too, right? So you have to say post-infected and post-vaccinated. That will be very interesting. Joe, as always, we thank you so much. Do you want to have people follow you? Where should they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at StanleyCupOT. And I will be posting everything on Twitter this evening. And it's already posted on Locals.
Great.
So, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Drew, I'm going to continue sending you, different graphs for the broadcast. and as well as please feel free to send it to anybody that you want. There is one thing I am curious on. I see Leopold is on here.
He got the attitude on Sunday.
I want to see, and I spoke to him.
He's going to get an attitude score. Yeah, I'm anxious to see that too.
Why isn't he on Clubhouse to tell us?
He went and got one today. Maybe you need to invite him, Susan.
I did.
I will invite him. I'll
I think I did.
Okay, but he had severe COVID, and it'll be interesting to see if he still has immunity. It'll be very interesting. And they're starting to work on cellular profiles as well as humoral profiles, meaning the antibodies as well as the T cell, B cell memory response. Joe, thank you, my friend.
Have a great evening.
All right, buddy. Take care. All right, let me try to get to, again, doesn't have to be just COVID questions. I'm happy to answer whatever you guys have in your mind. Let's talk to Alessandro. And I'm watching the restream. Alessandro, how are you?
Hey, Dr. How are you doing? Yeah, I'll just get right into it. So I live in San Fernando Valley, and I'm living at home with my parents. And my mom is healthy, but my dad, he recently got cancer free. So he got the news that he got liver cancer in 2016, and he was battling it for a while. And originally, his doctor that he still sees today said not to do chemo and put him on a holistic treatment, as well as working with a nutritionist and taking like natural medications. And so he's actually cancer free as of about a month ago. And he advised against chemo, but he also advised against getting the vaccine. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
It seems like a terrible idea to me. How old is he?
73.
What kind of liver cancer did he have, and how was it diagnosed?
Honestly, I really wasn't as involved in like that whole process.
You need to get that information. Because there's a lot more that will need to be done in terms of the risk factor for things like hepatocellular carcinoma and why that wasn't worked up.
Right. So he's actually taking hydroxychloroquine. I know that's definitely not like a cure by any means, but
how old is he? How old is he?
73.
Yeah, I mean, for a 73-year-old with a history of cancer to not take the vaccine. I'm not his doctor.
Right.
That seems pretty interesting.
And I know, and again, I just want to preface this. I know this is it is controversial, but at the same time, he was, given not that much time, and the decisions that specific doctor made, he really saved my dad's life. So,
that's the part I'm sort of confused about, because I need to know more about what that really was. What kind of cancer, what we're talking about here, what the underlying conditions were. And it might have impact on, what's going on with him now in terms of, the risk of the vaccine even, let alone the need for the vaccine. So I'm afraid I can't comment on that very conclusively, but I would ask that doctor what the reasoning is. It's an interesting. You trust me, at that age, you do not want this illness. It's not fun. At 60, it was not fun. And I don't know, that seems like an odd thing, especially, if he has some concerns about the mRNA vaccine, what about the live the attenuated adenovirus, the J&J? Okay, thanks, my friend. Aryeh, is that correct? Did I pronounce your name right?
You did, perfectly, actually.
Hey, how about that? What's happening?
So thank you for bringing me up. I had two quick questions. First, on the COVID topic, have you heard about, or do you have any thoughts on these stories about people who were completely vaccinated now being shown to test positive with COVID?
Yes, and I find those groups a little confusing. I think some of them, what I've read about, are people that were getting COVID when they were vaccinated and converted after they were vaccinated. In other words, they were already infected, got the vaccine, converted. Like, I didn't convert for 5 days. I was sick as hell. Day 4, day 5 is when I converted. So just because somebody doesn't show up with the antigen until later doesn't mean they weren't infected before. So that's what's confusing me about that data. Or it could be a group of people that got infected after the vaccine, before the vaccine kicked in. So I don't know. Or It could be people who are fully vaccinated. The vaccine is not 100% protective against COVID. It's protective against death, but not against infection. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So my other question is if you have any familiarity or heard about using off-label drugs like LDN, which is low-dose naltrexone, to treat IBDs such as Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
I'm not sure I've heard about that. I've seen lots of interesting uses of naltrexone, and it's a pretty harmless drug. So if that's something that has a off-label use, this is the thing. People think the FDA determine what doctors can do. No, doctors can use any medicine that's on the market any way he or she feels is to the benefit of the patient. The FDA determines what comes to market, what's approved for certain things, but once it's here, physicians are free to use it however they please, given that it's in the best interest of the patient. And naltrexone, fluvoxamine, for me, for the long hauler syndrome, was an off-label use of that drug. And it was remarkably effective for me. And we were not using it for the antidepressant properties. We're using it for the sigma-1 anti-inflammatory system. Same is true with naltrexone. It has lots of different non-approved sorts of mechanisms. And it makes some sense to me that things like, particularly irritable bowel, I don't know about inflammatory bowel disease, but it wouldn't surprise me that much. It wouldn't surprise me that much. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for that question. And this is Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Patricia? Oops, she's not coming up yet. She's hooked up to go.
Caught her off guard.
Yeah, I don't know how that works on the other end. Let me, in the meantime, look at the restream. Give me a second here, guys. There's Patricia. Hi there. What's going on?
Hi.
Oh, hang on one second, Patricia.
Hi.
Someone on the restream is saying they're using it for fibromyalgia and irritable bowel. So there you go. So we have somebody on the restream that has been using it for off-label use to some effect. So there you go. Go ahead. What's up?
Hey, big fan. I'm
Thank you.
just wondering, first of all, I heard you were a bit of a COVID denier. So how did that change?
Let's just answer that. I was never, let me be super clear, never. What I was doing and what I would continue to do, I was absolutely mortified at what I saw to be the panic porn the press was creating. And I knew that the panic would be worse than the pandemic. Now, when I made a mistake, I was wrong on several things. I was absolutely categorically wrong. I should not have compared it to H1N1. Now, by the way, I've had both H1N1 and COVID, and H1N1 was worse, but COVID is more relentless and it's more protein and has all kinds of, we didn't know about COVID storms, cytokine storms and all that stuff at that time. So as soon as Dr. Fauci said, it's not the flu, I updated my priors and I adjusted course, apologized for getting that wrong. But I consistently, and I will have said from day one, and I continue to say presently, listen to Fauci, listen to the CDC. They will not steer you wrong. They never said lockdown. They never said close schools. They never did any of these extreme panicky interventions that the states did, that we reviewed some data just a few minutes ago that suggest may not have done anything. I don't know, but it doesn't, again, we don't know, but it looks like it may not have done anything except push people into poverty and create a mental health crisis. And that's what I was concerned with. So there's that.
Okay. So the other question that I have, once somebody has COVID, when are they no longer going to be contagious to other people?
With anything except hospitalized severe COVID, it is 10 days from the onset of symptoms. If you want 14 days, but they've actually shortened it to 10. And thus far, that's the recommendation. If you've been in the hospital with severe COVID, it's a little less clear. Some people have been maybe more like 2 months.
Got it. And then if you do a PCR test, is it possible it comes back positive?
Susan, do you remember when I did my PCR? Was I still contagious then? Susan?
The first one?
That one that, no, the one that
one that I took?
The one that I took that was super positive. You had me do a rapid antigen test.
Yeah, that was a rapid. And
yeah, how long into the illness was that?
You were like day 8.
So,
and it was really heavy. Because I wanted to see how the tests were.
So I can see where it would still be positive and you not be contagious. So that's
Got
possible.
it.
And so,
Maybe so.
but when they, it's so, the public health part of this has been such a mess.
Right.
When they called me and did my contact review, they didn't ask me who I'd been in contact with. They didn't ask me who I transmitted to. And they just said, oh, okay, you got sick on Thursday. Well, Sunday you're good. Don't worry about it. And I said, hey, my son's sick. Do you want to, I gave it to him. Do you want to check with his contacts? And they literally said to me, no, you tell him. You tell him that he's good in 10 days. So
Right.
it's crazy.
And do you? I know you got it, and you're clear now. Are you paranoid about possible future complications? Do you think this will become a huge health issue for the population in general?
It's a great question. I worry about getting reinfected with a variant. I worry about that. So that's what I'm, in terms of paranoia, that's what I'm a little paranoid about. But I must tell you, the neurologic effects of this thing are so profound and so protean. I can only compare it to a significant traumatic brain injury, maybe a severe traumatic brain injury. And we all know that TBI is associated with dementia down the road, particularly if you've ever had concussions before. So I wonder, we are certainly seeing an uptick in psychiatric illnesses from COVID, from the neurological effects of COVID. You're going to hear more about this as time goes on. I've said this several times, which is Dr. Menninger, who was one of the most famous psychiatrists of the early 20th century. He felt that almost all the psychotic illness he was seeing in the 1920s was the result of the 1918 flu.
Wow.
And they are definitely seeing an uptick in this stuff. And as somebody who's sort of had this experience, whatever psychiatric stuff you have, it comes, it rolls around from this thing. And so I can imagine if you're prone to bipolar or psychotic illness, I could see where it would come on. It feels like it has that potential. So
and diabetes?
That I don't think so.
Did you hear? Okay.
That'd be surprising to me.
Studies.
Well, that's interesting. It makes sense to me. Remember, everyone's getting lots of Decadron and steroids, and they're spending time in the hospital. And when people are super sick, sometimes certainly steroids, corticosteroids, and a tendency towards diabetes will sometimes come on in situations like that. So I'm wondering if it's not specific COVID and just the severity and relentlessness of this illness. That's the one thing I want to emphasize is, a lot of focus on mortality with this illness, but as you're bringing up, Patricia, the morbidity of it, the other illnesses, the misery and the consequences of it, we're not talking enough about that. That is a bigger issue, and I think it's great that you brought it up and you're thinking about it and reading about it.
Yeah,
because I think it may be real, at least measurably real on a population basis. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You uptick 1 or 2%, and we will see that. Right? That will show up.
Thank you so much.
Patricia.
I'm not sure it's bright, but at least it's talking about it.
Yeah, it's something to look to, and for people that are cavalier about this because, hey, it doesn't kill anybody in my age group or it's a 1% risk, the morbidity is quite a bit higher and more protean, so be careful.
Hey, Drew, you got a super chat.
Okay. Thanks, Patricia.
World Rewind says, Dad tested positive again, fully vaccinated, and beat COVID in early December. Should we social distance? We're confused and concerned.
Oh boy, is he sick? That'd be one of the questions. I mean, because sometimes with the PCR, if they're running 40, 35 cycles, you don't know really what you're testing. So it depends. Was he a PCR test, and when was he last tested positive? And is he having any symptoms? And oh boy, that is awful. Early December is when he had COVID. I would social distance until you figure this out. Yeah, I mean, be very careful. You're going to have a long conversation with his physician, see what's going on there.
Wear 2 masks.
Can you get how does a virus inside a house when no one has entered or left it? I just want to know exactly how the virus would enter a home, air vents, cracks, air around the windows, etc. Dark night, it comes in, somebody coming in to drop off groceries. That person, some people are super spreaders. Only about 20% of people are super spreaders. For instance, only 15% of spouses of somebody with the illness get the illness. Susan was right next to me the entire night. I had fever and chills. She didn't get it. And only about 15% get it because there are a small percentage.
I wasn't next to you.
When I got sick? Where were you?
You think I was next to you. I'm kidding.
It doesn't make sense what you're saying, so I'm trying to make sense of it.
You said I was next to you all night when you had fevers and chills.
Correct.
You
weren't?
thought I was next to you.
Where were you?
I was there. I'm just making fun of you.
Okay. I can't figure out what caused this. I don't know about that low potassium. Tamara, I need to see a lot more information. All right, Andrew Ashkazvili said, Dr. Witkowski says your body needs to get the variants to keep up with the virus. The variant is the booster. Andrew, I don't know about that, my friend.
Drew, don't
interesting
want it.
Theory. I'm nervous about about any kind of infection with that virus, given my experience with it. It's not been fun.
I mean, that's an idea, right?
Chad Quackenbush, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. What's happening?
I just wanted to let you know, I really don't understand, and I know that Patricia didn't mean anything by it, but I've literally watched every single episode since this outbreak has begun, the pandemic, and I never got the sense that you were a COVID denier.
There was a 2-week period in February, literally 2 weeks, maybe
when
3,
we were traveling.
When I could see. What I could see was I kept going on these talk shows, and they were like essentially saying to me, do you see what the Chinese are doing? Don't we need to do that? And I was like, not till the CDC tells you. In the meantime, shut up. You're gonna create a panic. And they started going grim, horrible, staggering. Those words started in February of last year, grim and staggering. And I just told them, shut up. You must shut up. You're going to create a panic. And I got kind of aggressive about it, and it was my mistake. Look, here's what I learned. Chad, here's what I learned. Humility is a very important thing. Even when I know something for sure and I'm upset about it, I don't want them to create a panic, I should have done it more humbly. And as a result, it sort of highlighted the things I did get wrong, which I got some things wrong, like we all did as this thing evolved.
But isn't that what you do as a doctor? Like when you're looking at data, like Dr. Fauci, like
yes.
Isn't he supposed to look at data and change as the data changes? Isn't that what we're looking to do?
Chad, you got it, man. It's called Bayesian reasoning. It's updating your priors and then adjusting. But some asshole put together a tape edited of some of the things I was saying to make it look like it. You know how this goes. And of course, everyone believed that.
And it went viral.
Yeah, and that was viral, and that's that. That's who you are
Dr.
then
Droops,
at that point.
And we still don't know who Dr. Droops is.
Yeah, we literally our family was threatened because of it. So whoever that is, congratulations for causing extreme misery to 5 people, and literally, it's like doxing. It affects people's safety.
You see, I really felt, though, like during those times when I heard you saying, I was following it, and I was listening to what you were saying, right? But I felt that when you were being so
aggressive,
it made me feel more calm. It made me say, yes, take a step back, look at what's happening. Like, don't just listen to either Fox News or MSNBC. Like,
right.
They're trying to clickbait you.
Right. And Chad, thank you, because that was my goal. That was my goal, to get people just to calm down and wait till the CDC and then Dr. Fauci give us the recommendations, and then we follow them. And to do anything else to mandate the policies of the CCP or President or General Secretary Xi, I don't think that was right. I don't think we should be doing that. I don't think that's what this country does. And I'll be fair, no one had ever done anything like that before in the history of infectious diseases, and it looked to me like they were doing something more than trying to control an infection. It looked to me like they were trying to hide something. Now, I don't know anything, but it just looked like that to me, and that's why I was upset that we would follow a policy that had no precedent in medical literature. And if you look at many of my television broadcasts as this thing evolved over the first few months, I kept saying, did a physician make this decision? Is the CDC telling you to do this? And the answer was always no. But it came anyway.
I can simply tell you that in my family, it's made such a difference in listening to you, not only with COVID, but with our doctors in general that we've dealt with. I mean, we ask more questions now. We're a little bit more informed.
Good.
And it kind of snowballs, you know what I mean? But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about really quick was about Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
So I got the Johnson & Johnson. It's been 16 days ago.
Congratulations.
We had to drive an hour and a half and go overnight to Syracuse to get it because it was like a quick thing. They were going to do an overnight vaccination, but they had about 200 people in there at a rip. But it was in a giant building in Syracuse at the state fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to get COVID and then get
yeah.
You're going to get COVID getting a COVID shot.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they were really good. I don't want to even say anything like that because it was excellent. The people did a good job. National Guard, everybody was there.
Wow.
And it was great. But the one thing is, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law also went, right? They followed us up there, and we're all sort of having the same, like, side effects of where we have a lot of, like, joint pain, and we get completely exhausted, like, midday. And I was wondering if you've read any data on Johnson & Johnson, because I can't find any, side effects as it goes along, like, anything like I'm talking about.
I only heard part of what you said because my dogs are barking like maniacs.
I simply just said that for the past couple of weeks since we've gotten it, we get extremely tired.
Yes, yes.
Like midday.
I have heard that from multiple vaccine recipients. Doesn't seem to matter which type of vaccine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if my memory serves me, which don't trust it, I'm post-COVID and it's been faulty lately. It has been more in the Johnson & Johnson group than in the because I've not heard anybody really complain about it after the first vaccine, and I believe I've heard some complaints after the second.
Somebody else's dog is barking back. I think Gary's here. I'm going to go get him.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it as always. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, man. Hey, La Rosalda, I'm not quite sure what you're implying there. Yes, I compared initially H1N1 and COVID because and my point was not that they're the same illness, but that we just had a pandemic and you didn't even know it happened. In 2009, we had a pandemic and you didn't know it happened. And now we're going to another pandemic where we're going to close the world down because the Chinese did it. That was my point. Of course, it was the people can put together videos however they please. People in Europe, JJ proof of emergency use. Good. You get that Johnson & Johnson vaccine if you guys have it. E484K protein is the key protein in the variant. That is true. La Rosalda, I'm an internist who taught internal medicine, and then I worked in a psychiatric hospital for 30 years where I ran the addiction services and the medical service, but mostly addiction services, which was the crossroads of psychology, psychiatry, family therapy, medicine, and addiction per se. So thank you, Rosalda. Check your facts. Check your facts. Thoughts on Paul and Fauci exchange. Andrew, I thought that was actually a healthy exchange because that's what happens in medicine. That's how we exchange every time we do a grand rounds. I mean, that's what happens. Now, the public is not used to that, and I thought it was what it needed to be. I mean, you got to ask these questions, and I thought Dr. Fauci held his own. I mean, that he wasn't making a recommendation. So it was what it was. Now, should he stop modeling wearing 2 masks? What it made me hearken back to was when I was working on AIDS patients back in the early 80s. I was very involved in that epidemic, and remember, 100% fatal, that thing, 100% fatal at that time. And we had Dr. Fauci telling us to go out and educate, and that's why I went on the radio, is because Fauci was pumping us younger physicians to do this. And at the time, he kept saying there are going to be 2 million dead people, 2 million dead. We ended up with 175,000. We scared the crap out of everybody, and we congratulated ourselves. Now, since then, we have learned that there are more effective ways to deliver public health messaging than scaring people. Unfortunately, we abandoned all that in this pandemic. It was, again, part of what made me so upset. The public health messaging became, you're going to kill grandma if you don't wear a mask. That's like saying, hey, you're an AIDS patient, you have sex with somebody, you're a murderer. Did we ever say that to anybody, ever? Of course not. Of course not. This has just been an insane experience. Insane. Let's see.
Can I give my layman's view of that?
Hang on. ZZ Berman, I'm seeing nursing home residents whom are fully vaccinated turn up positive after having been negative for months. They're testing regularly. I'm interested to understand what this means. I'm not sure what it means either. I have a feeling those are more false positive than true positive. Susan, go ahead.
I thought that Rand Paul was right. 2 masks is a little excessive if you had a vaccine, but on the other hand, I felt like he's really being attacked and not getting to speak his truths.
Fauci.
Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of hard to listen to him get interrupted and not get his voice out because he was asking him questions, but he was just sort of steamrolling him like a lawyer. But I guess, was Rand Paul a doctor?
Yeah, he was an ophthalmologist.
I mean, I get that, the science wasn't there, but it was just a little too courty. It wasn't really talking about it. It was more like he was attacking him and trying to.
It was interesting because, look, Fauci has a political position. He's got to play politics. He's working for a president now that wears a mask all the time, so he wears a mask all the time. I cannot fault him for that. To wear 2 masks after having fully vaccinated, hey, if you're like me and you're worried about the variants, you wear the mask.
Or now, if somebody in your family is sick, I wore 2 masks when you were sick. I did.
Yep.
I took it seriously. I mean, that woman who said that her husband's sick again, maybe wear 2 masks in your house, when you're serving food or you're cleaning up after them or whatever.
Yep. No, that's right. It's interesting. I
think we all should have our own thoughts about it, whether we need it or not. I'm walking out in fresh air. I'm going to take the mask off and breathe. Oh, Gary's here now.
This is not good.
This is the family hour today.
2 masks is ridiculous. He's political. Either he's been truthful or he's been paid. No, not been paid. Let's see. I think Rand Paul has a very limited time to ask a question. That's true, too. Yeah, why don't you, Susan? Susan's going to run a little promo here while we settle the dogs down, okay? Want to do that? I am so grateful for our friends at Blue Microphones. Not only have they completely changed what our show sounds like, they've given me headphones so I can monitor things better. This is the mic for millions of creative people, and now I know why. I'm so grateful for them completely changing the quality of our audio. You'll find Blue mics like Yeti and the Mouse, which we're using here, both in pro studios and home studios, literally all over the world. Their popular Yeti caster is a Blue Yeti microphone, plus a boom arm system that's behind many of your favorite podcasts. I run into them all the time, and now I know why. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or YouTube channel, Blue can make you sound and look great. Just visit bluemic.com and click Get Started, and you can start telling your story. All right, we are back. The dogs are calming down a little bit, so let me get up some callers here. This is Sean. Sean, go ahead. Give him a chance to get up here. Oh, Sean can't join right now. Okay. Let's, I don't know how that works. Let's see.
You can bring other people up at the same time.
Okay. Dr. Agha. Did I pronounce that correctly? Let's see if he or she gets up here. I can't tell what the gender is. Dr. Agha.
Hopefully you're still on the...
Yeah, maybe is something not on here? Am I not on the Bluetooth, perhaps?
I don't know.
I'm not on the Bluetooth. Well, let's see. Wait. No, I'm connected, so that's all working. The problem now is that as I invite multiple people up, if they don't come up, they may suddenly show up.
That's okay.
Uh-oh, I just did something. Okay.
Drew's tech skills.
Yeah,
Gary's making him nervous.
I'm learning about all this. Again, Dr. Agha, are you there? If you're there, come on up. Otherwise, we're going to get Muhammad up. Muhammad? Let's see if we can get him. There you are. Muhammad?
Yeah, hi, Dr. Joe.
How are you, sir?
Third to charm.
I'm fine. I am Muhammad. I am an intern doctor from Palestine. I would like to be sure about the reliable information about Sputnik V vaccine.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't have, let's just say I don't have a lot of data. I certainly have no experience with the Sputnik V vaccine, or 5V is the vaccine that the Russians have developed. There's also a Chinese vaccine. They're clearly not as efficacious as the 3 that have been approved in the United States. They're slightly behind AstraZeneca, but not by much. And I don't know about their safety. I don't know if the sort of reviewing agencies have the same standard for safety that I'm accustomed to here. My bet is it's not that far off. We get very into the weeds because of the legal liabilities. That's what really motivates a lot of double checking in our system. But if that's all you have access to, I can't give you a formal opinion because I'm not keeping up on specifically that vaccine. But if that's all I had, I would certainly think about it. Will. Hi, Will.
Dr. Drew, can you hear me?
I hear you. What's going on?
Awesome. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for being a beacon of light, honestly, for the last year. Been loving tuning in.
Thank you.
And this is super thrilled to talk to you. Quick question about vaccine eligibility.
Okay.
I'm 28 and male, no pre-existing health conditions, so I don't imagine I'm going to be able to get a vaccine for several months. But my question or comment, it may be a question of personal morals, but I'm seeing people who are lying about.
I know.
They're lying about their position or they're a healthcare worker and they're getting vaccines. What are your thoughts on that?
I have two thoughts. Okay, I'm of two minds. One, I'm like you. It is a ethical, moral transgression, and what I'm seeing a lot of is people in their 30s and 40s going in and saying they have a heart problem or just signing up as though they have a medical problem. It's not so much that they're healthcare workers. They're just saying here's the conundrum. See, I'm going to say something that's going to give people the opportunity to do this, but I feel like I have to explain what's happening. People are going online who are 35 years old saying, I have a heart problem. They go to the pharmacy. The pharmacy is not allowed to ask anything because of HIPAA. All the patient has to say is, that's my private medical concern. I can't tell you. And they're not able to do anything except give them the vaccine. And that is a significant moral and ethical problem. That's one mind. My other mind is the state governments in many states have been so horrible in how they've rolled this out. They're forcing people to lie. They've created a circumstance where people are going to run against their moral standards because the state has been so poor in how they've done this, so pathetic in their procedures. So I'm of two minds. One is I'm really concerned. We have a lot of young people who are just seemingly not able to maintain their ethical, moral compasses. And the other, I'm like, well, of course, the state made them do this. They're creating people like this. Good job, state, especially California. Well done. Well done. So that's my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, it's challenging because, my girlfriend has Crohn's and she just got the vaccine, obviously eligible, but, I'm ready to get one too. And when a friend says, oh, you can just go lie about it and grab one, it's difficult, but I don't want to take one from someone who needs them more than I do.
I think you should. How old are you again?
28.
Right. So you don't want to get it. You shouldn't worry about it. You're going to be fine. But let's think about it this way. Let's say you get a variant and you give it to your girlfriend. That's a big deal. So it's I'm extremely disappointed with how the vaccine rollout has gone. I think it could not have been worse, frankly, in terms of how they did it. They're sort of getting up to speed now, but they've had so many weeks and now months of inappropriateness in terms of sacrificing lots of vaccine and just there have been so many aspects to it that have been just really reprehensible that it's hard for me to blame people for lying. It's like they've created it. Please try to live by your moral and ethical compass. You'll be better off for it. I think that's just a generally a good axiom.
So Baseball Live 77 wants to know if you still have tinnitus.
I do. It's not bad today. It was bad yesterday. It comes and goes. It was so bad last week that I thought about going on back on fluvoxamine, but now it's been good lately. So.
And then Warfare and Obey. COVID made my hair stop growing and fall out, incredibly dry, flaky skin and lips, cracking, bleeding toes.
Interesting. There's a lot of skin stuff going on and tongue and mouth. I've not heard hair so much.
Ugh.
Kristen, what's going on there?
Thank you so much for taking my question.
You bet.
A question about kids and the vaccine. I have a 13-year-old and 15-year-old daughter, both daughters, and concerns about, I've heard rumors about childbearing age or childbearing consequences for that.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, and let's remind ourselves this is an educational forum. This is not me practicing medicine. This is not me telling you what to do. This is just us talking about it based on my understanding of these things. I've had multiple conversations with virologists, and there seems to be no fertility. That is spurious. That seems spurious. However, I never thought we'd be vaccinating below 16. That to me seems kind of, I don't know what we're up to there. I think we're trying to prevent the variants from coming up by reducing replication. But I want to see a lot more about child vaccination. Really make sure that literature is fully evolved before you do anything, okay?
Yes, that's my thought. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Vaccinating kids so they can go back to school is like, schools are already safe without the vaccination. So why are we subjecting kids to that? So there better be a good reason for that. And the only reason that I can think of is we want this virus not to replicate so it doesn't create variants, doesn't mutate. And that's good. That's a real reason. But my goodness. Okay, 1 second here. I'm going to go Jack to John here because you'd been up the scale a little further, and I lost you. John, what's going on now?
Hey, Dr. Drew, how you doing?
Good.
I'm in Georgia, and
Nice.
I'm vaccinated. But they just announced today that anyone in the state of Georgia that's 16 or older is now eligible for the vaccine.
Great.
Which is, to me, it's good news. But my concern is, does that mean that there are so many people in the earlier categories that chose not to? I guess that remains to be seen. But I had a question about the virus, and as far as it becoming or potentially becoming an endemic, are we at a race to see if we are able to control what's out there, keep people vaccinated, and then if we're not as successful, is that what would make it become an endemic? So that we would have, an annual shot, like the flu shot?
There, at this point, everyone I talk to believes firmly, and I agree with this, there's no way it won't be an endemic illness. It will be an endemic illness. This idea of zero COVID is a complete fallacy, as best I can tell. I don't know any legitimate scientists that have that as the goal. The goal is to suppress it sufficiently that it's just another infectious disease in the environment that we're dealing with, of which, trust me, there are many. You don't know the names of the most of them, but there are all kinds of things that can get you out there. And for this one, we will happen to have a pretty good vaccine. Now, the problem is, for instance, Jack's here on the restream is saying you have a 0.00009 chance of getting hepatitis B, but the CDC gives you a hepatitis B vaccine when you're 1 year old, 1 year of age. So, but the point is, we have a pretty good vaccine. The goal is going to be reduced replication so that there isn't the tendency towards mutation and there isn't the potential for another outbreak, right? This is a very strange virus in terms of how it morphs and changes and gets ahead of us. Now, the probability is if we suppress it sufficiently worldwide, we'll be able to chase it with boosters, much the way we chase the influenza vaccine. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for that. And just a quick follow-up to address what you were speaking on as far as frustration with states' rollout.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the great things about the way that our government is structured is the fact that the states have these rights. But when it comes to, an issue like this where a national standard would be beneficial, it really makes it difficult. Can you foresee anything in the future where, the CDC or I really don't know who would be the authority on it, but could actually somehow.
Well, it's funny. It's interesting you frame the question that way because we do have a national authority. It's the CDC, and somehow they lost their grip, and the states started doing whatever they wanted.
Okay.
And I don't know how you can't mandate. I mean, I guess the only way I don't know the legal sort of landscape on this, whether the federal government has the right to mandate these policies to the states. But we certainly, I hope people learn something. You should listen to the damn CDC. They made some big errors. They made some huge errors on testing. They botched that. They're not perfect. They will make mistakes too. But if we had listened to them the whole way through, we would be much, much better off. And for some reason, anything the CDC said at the beginning was considered the Trump administration. Therefore, we did the opposite in places like California. Bad. That was a bad idea. It's a bad idea to be.
Yeah, it highlight for me. It was especially highlighted because I live right on the Alabama-Georgia border, and it was so frustrating to see Georgia do a zig and Alabama do a zag, and I see people going right across. And I thought, this is just not going to work.
Right.
There's got to be some type of standard.
And to be fair though, the same thing applies to the international landscape, though, doesn't it? Right? In that internationally, we can't control what goes on in many other countries, and this virus is going to come around, and you can't close the borders unless you bring the military. I don't know how we would do that. I mean, and we have open border policies essentially. So I mean, what do we think? I mean,
I wouldn't want to shut down the state borders, but I'm just talking about as far as the protocols.
I hear you. I get what you're saying. So John, great question, and I wish we need an attorney to sort of a constitutional attorney to really tell us a little more about that landscape. This is Alana. Alana, what's going on?
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Drew.
You bet.
I'm not sure. I just tuned into the room, so I'm not sure if this question has already been asked, but I was watching one of your episodes online with the podcast, Christina P., and I was curious if you could go over, I know you advocated a lot for taking certain vitamins when you do contract COVID to help kind of curb the effects.
So I was advocating and took myself, and to some extent continue to take, things that optimize your state, your condition, right? Things that optimize your risks. And it looks like the things that optimize a given individual risk, obviously it did not prevent me from getting COVID. I had moderate to severe COVID. Would I have had worse COVID had I not done? Who knows? But in terms of what it looks like, the data that's available, vitamin D, 2,000 to 5,000 units a day, depending on what your doctor tells you. Zinc, elemental zinc, 25 to 50 milligrams a day. Again, discussed with your doctor. Some people are taking quercetin to help deliver the zinc, and vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams. Those things have been shown to be helpful in terms of optimizing your immune function in the anticipation of exposure to something like this. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, you got it. Susan, I think I'm running out of steam a little bit here. I'm going to have to kind of wrap things up. Is there anything else?
Maybe Gary can set in.
Does Gary need me to keep talking? No. Yeah, K2 Machiavelli has been advocated as well. I've tried K2 in the past. I get headaches and things from that. So these are not without. These are supplements. Be careful. I worry about the zinc going on indefinitely because it can affect copper metabolism. So be careful, everybody.
We really appreciate all the questions from Clubhouse and also our Restream followers, or our Facebook, YouTube, Periscope follower. Periscope will be ending at the end of March. I'm not sure where anybody will be able to go, whether it's just onto Twitter, but check out our YouTube or our Facebook or our Twitch channel. Also, if you're on Clubhouse, we'll stream it there. But we have a couple of really good guests coming up this week. We have
Dr.
Naomi Wolf is coming this Thursday.
Wolf's coming in on Thursday, and she's been. I'm so fascinated by the arc of her career. I mean, she has gone all kinds of places, and I just want to talk to her about where she's at right now.
Or ask Dr. Drew. And then
she seems very concerned about things right now.
Dr. Shore is tomorrow.
Dr. Alan Shore is one of my heroes.
I don't have a banner.
This will be a discussion of interpersonal neurobiology. If you've never been exposed to that, I suggest you listen to this podcast. It is sort of the foundation of so much of psychology and therapeutics. It's a really interesting topic. I had the honor of speaking at his 20th anniversary of the publication of his Sentinel book. The name of the book is Affect Relation.
I don't know how you remember all these names.
Affect Regulations and the Origins of the Self. Affect Regulation and the Origin of the Self. It's about a 1,200-page book that I read like it was a Bible.
And that'll be tomorrow at 3:30, I do believe.
Tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you on the Clubhouse.
And then next week we have some good news too. Actually, tomorrow is 3 p.m. And then next Wednesday, March 31st, we have Dr. Ben Carson.
Oh, excellent.
So just so everybody can put that on their calendar.
Former Secretary Carson.
And that's the last day Periscope's going to be going on.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's better if you're going to watch the replay, make sure you watch YouTube or Facebook, because you may not see. I don't know what'll happen to all our shows. I don't know if they'll just vanish into nowhere or they'll keep that up and you can check back. But I don't know.
With Dr. Carson's appearance, we're going to start to get into the homeless problem a bit here on this stream, because I am getting very active again and trying to.
Well, that's how you hooked up with him, right?
That's how I hooked up with him, and that's where I'm going to begin to refocus my attention, because we have
and Arnold Schwarzenegger, problem. Right? Didn't you meet him the same day?
No, I went to a different symposium where I met Arnold, and it was a privilege. So I'm going to end the room. Thank you, people. Much appreciated your participation, but we got to really roll things up here and roll up the sidewalks, as they say. I'm looking at the last few minutes of the restream here to see if you guys have any questions that TS, what did you miss? You missed that we have Dr. Ben Carson coming, we have Naomi Wolf coming, and we have Alan Shore.
We missed you, TS. But you can watch the replay. Yeah. Anybody who just joined us can watch the replay. It was a good conversation today.
Yeah, it was good. Lots of good questions.
And thank you, Joe, for your amazing charts and all your hard work. We really appreciate it.
Oh my God.
He's keeping track of everything. It's interesting how you don't see this stuff in the news. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to go to your Yahoo News and find the chart of everybody going down. You know?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. People need to look at these things and think about it.
And he's going to be posting all this information at locals.
Base Bailiev 977. He says the best way to treat tinnitus, habituate and use sound therapy. I've researched for the last 8 months, just our new background noise. It gets easier with time. Yes, I've been using sound therapies, and it drowns it out sometimes, and it also changes the pitch of the thing sometimes. I'll tell you what I use. I use a thing called Clear Tune. And I don't stay with it as much as I should, because it doesn't make it go away. And so I just think, forget it.
We have to send Dr. Kelly Victory an invite to Clubhouse.
Do you want to bring her in here again? Or are we going to get canceled because I talked to her?
Our shows get canceled, but maybe if she's calling in, it'll be a little easier. I don't know.
I'm assuming she's updated her priors too and has different ideas.
Well, I heard her talking. She was pretty happy with how Fauci was getting attacked the other day, but you know, she has her point of view, and we saw the mask use versus people that were mandated versus people that weren't mandated, and the numbers are the same. So it's kind of clear that, you know, she may have some points.
And on my restream here, thank you, Fartist123, for the entertainment value. Gary, you didn't know we had so much fun here, did you? So whatever. Yeah, we've been on over an hour here, so I think I've got to kind of take a little break.
Well,
here.
You made it through an hour and you're not tired.
I'm not tired. I've just got. I didn't sleep last night.
I have to cook dinner.
Yeah. So
and I also have to talk to Gary.
Okay, well, let's wrap things up here.
But we appreciate everybody who's been part of it.
Be here for the interpersonal neurobiology, brain physiology. We're talking about Dr. Alan Shore.
3 p.m.
Very interesting stuff. And
I got to send him.
We're going to be just dedicated to that. So come on, check it out, and we'll see you then. This pandemic began, we were not sure how it spread. Everyone began wearing masks and using hand sanitizers. Great ways to slow the spread. But a lot of people still get sick. I can personally attest to that. We now know that COVID-19 spreads via aerosols and droplets from the nose and mouth. And I've been thinking about this for a while. Why aren't we also sanitizing the nose and mouth, killing the virus directly at the place where it spreads? Why weren't more doctors thinking about this? Well, some doctors have done the research. Wish I discovered it sooner. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Halodyne. It's an FDA-registered antiseptic for the nose and mouth that's proven to eliminate 99.99% of the virus that causes COVID-19 in just 15 seconds. That's right. It's created by a team of clinicians with decades of experience in antiviral treatments, initially created to protect healthcare workers. These are smart scientists, and it's a great product that also eliminates many other viruses and infecting particles. I'm using both their nasal antiseptic swab and their oral spray to help protect those around me, and you should be too. For others and for yourself. Whether you're hopping on a 3-hour flight, always use it there. Visiting grandparents or attending a meeting that you can't miss, Halodyne's family of oral and nasal antiseptics give you the safe, easy, on-the-go antiviral protection for up to 4 hours. I encourage you to try Halodyne at halodyne.com today. My listeners get 10% off with the discount code Dr. Drew. That is HALODINE.com, discount code DRDREW. So obvious. It just makes sense. Stop the virus before it spreads and gets in your body with Halodyne.